Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the December 2018 Nextier Power Dialogue. This is the point where I tell you what Nextier Power Dialogue is about, which is to bring people together to look for solutions to the key challenges we have in the sector. We use that as a platform to advocate for positions as well, and also to create opportunity for folks to network. In a few minutes, I'll invite the Honorable Minister to make some opening remarks, and then I'll have a moderated discussion with him, and we'll open it up for audience participation. I had a longer introduction for the Honorable Minister, but I'll shelve it, because anyone who claims to be Nigerian and is over 10 years old and doesn't know Fashola, it's either you just woke up from a 10-year coma, or you live in one of the areas that are currently off-grid. So, without further ado, I'll invite the Honorable Minister Babatunde Fashola to make his opening remarks.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that it is appropriate to first start by saying compliments of the season. Christmas is afoot, and the festivities that come with it. I would also like to thank the organizers of the Nextier Power Dialogue. If you permit me, I think that one of the things I expected would happen has happened with this platform. It's becoming a marketplace for disseminating reliable information about what is going on. We must have one source of truth, and I hope that Nextier can ultimately become that single source of truth about what is happening in the industry. I acknowledge all of the partners behind it who are emblazoned, but most importantly, I think the unemblazoned partners are all of you who have kept the dialogue going, and I think all of you deserve. I will be pretentious if I tell you I don't watch. I'm watching. But you will see that I've stayed away. It's almost a year and a half or 2 years, and I thought that this is a good time to come, end of the year. Let me acknowledge members of my staff in the ministry and other government officials who are here serving, and those who have moved on to greener pastures. And it's invidious to attempt to identify everybody, but if they are here, just raise your hand, and we know that you are part of the team that has moved us this far. One of the starting points will be, where are we in 2018? And let me just say, if you permit me, that this is perhaps an appropriate time to answer that question, because the National Bureau of Statistics report for Q3 just came out. So it tells us where we are. You can't quarrel with those numbers. They've been numbers that we deal with. So where are we? The third quarter GDP results announced was 1.81% growth. That is up from 1.50 in Q2. It's not enough, but it means that we're heading in the right direction, back up. What is also important to share is that the growth was driven by non-oil sectors. That's important. And those who understand economics, please keep the applause going. You see, we've grown in a quarter where oil prices and production have not done well. We've grown. And that's what this team set out from day one. Diversify the economy. We will welcome the oil money, But when the oil money suddenly disappears, our prosperity must not go with it. And that's important. So in the period when oil prices began to flounder, the economy of Nigeria grew. That's so important. Now, but what is more important, who drove the growth? Electricity was the biggest contributor, 18%. Don't be afraid to applaud. This is the numbers, it's not me. Stop being afraid. We did it, all of us. Nextier, everybody. So if you want to applaud, don't give it to me, give it to Nextier then. Maybe it's a bigger applause for Nextier because you don't trust government. But these are the numbers, it's not me. So, metal ores, 17%. Telecoms, 14%. Transportation, 11.9%. Quarrying and mining, 3%. And so on and so forth. And for the first time in about 6 consecutive quarters, you know what? The services sector, that side that we like, where everything is bubbling and bursting, grew by 2%. So what does it mean? That if we continue with the foundations we are building, infrastructure, power, the jobs that all of us want to see will ultimately come. So that's where we are. Let me conclude where we are by sharing with you, because I decided not to write a speech, just to come and talk about what is happening. Now, all of the electricity that we know, perhaps is what's happening on grid, megawatts, transmission, but there's a lot happening off grid, a lot. And if you drive around Nigeria, begin to look at rooftops, a lot of solar panels coming on there. Ultimately, you will sell that power in the way that you have envisioned it, that people are selling power to the public. It's going to happen here because the power is already accumulating. It's going to happen. You see more solar panels begin to come on. But a community who wrote to our ministry, I think last year, and they said they don't have electricity. It's a community called Gora in Nasarawa State. They came to visit me yesterday. So I just thought to bring the story here as to where we are, instead of writing a speech. And their chief, the head of the Gora community, Alhaji Jafaru Adamu, he spoke in Hausa, which I don't understand, but they translated his speech, which he handed over to me. I had a secretary. Let me just point out one of the things that, some of the things that he said. He said, the villages that now have solar power have been reduced from isolation, that's their translation, because of constant power supply, day and night, at affordable rates. He then goes to say, Your Excellency, permit me to humbly mention some of the benefits of the solar power that my community is now enjoying. And I think I would like you to help me read this part, so that we can really have this dialogue. Since the highlighted part, just flip through them.
Okay. Education, a sense of equality and bridge of gap between performance of our children in the villages and the children in the cities are now evident as they can now study at night. The solar power has increased the study time of our children at home, which has resulted in better performance and better grades. On health, better health for improved knowledge and storage facilities from refrigeration. Some of the communities have now connected their boreholes with the solar power, and pipe-borne water is now available. No more drinking of contaminated water from ponds. We have discarded the use of candles and kerosene lamps, which was a great health hazard, most especially to women and children. Other benefits, the villagers can learn modern methods of agriculture from television programs, charge cell phones for ease of communication, no more charging phones at business centers. Your Excellency, sir, please do not be tired of us asking for more. As Oliver Twist did say, can I have some more, please? He read his literature, I guess. In light of this, we are humbly asking and pleading for the solar power to be extended to the remaining villages, namely XYZ. A round of applause.
Now, while that is going on, there are many Goras across Nigeria. We have identified 300 such communities who do not even have access. So while we are battling with the grid in the urban center, those people just even are not connected. We have done an audit and we run a pilot of 70 of those communities in the next few months. So where are we? Today, Federal Executive Council approved the loan, I think $350 million, targeted at off-grid, solar, renewable, and all of that to make the entire thing bankable. We are not going to, we are going to take project developers and all of that, and this is where all of that money, so that we can get many more GORAs going. So access. What are we likely to see? More people connected and accessing energy without necessarily going on the grid. And those of you who know more than I do, we know that all of the countries we want to be like have both systems running simultaneously. What is the policy behind all of this? The mini grid regulations. So we are beginning to see off-take of policy, and then we will see the impact of policy. So what is the outlook? And I'll close there. What's the outlook? We have 30 markets, SMEs, businesses, power to market, energizing economies. We have 9 universities, first pilot out of 37 universities, where some work is going on now. Equipment has been ordered, some have been shipped, some are mid-sea, to ensure that ultimately when we finish, 37 federal universities will have no business with the grid again, and they will have reliable power. All of this is going on as I speak, and they're verifiable. Markets like Aria in Aba, Sabongari in Kanu, Ekmori is ongoing. Sura has been connected, so you can go to Sura market and go and ask the people in Sura what their experience has been for the last almost 100 days. They haven't had to put on a generator. And 37,000 shops in area are going to benefit, 13,000 I believe in Sabongari. So we are decoupling in order to gain traction and access. So that's the outlook going forward. Incidentally, again, in fact, today, transmission got approval for a $486 million loan to expand and strengthen its current grid capacity, which is now 7,124 megawatt last simulation, and hopefully take it to 10. A couple of our power projects are coming to conclusion. So the outlook is increased power, increased transmission, hopefully increased distribution if we solve all of the problems, but also increased decentralization and access to power. So I think I will stop there, where we are and what I see going forward.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I mean, it's music to our ears, when we see what the government is doing on the renewable side or the off-grid side. At the firm, we champion an initiative called Mainstream Solar, and we work with a number of renewable energy companies that are also present in the room. However, the challenge I would like for you to address is more the challenge on the on-grid side. So if you look at the data, sometime back in 2013, Nigeria hit about 4,500 megawatts. But in the last few months, we've been averaging around 4,200. And I know it's not for want of effort or work from your ministry. The question, therefore, is why haven't we been able to scale up? Why does it seem as if we're stuck at that 4,000, 4,500 mark? What are the core challenges you faced so far in driving us to like a 10,000 megawatt, which we should be able to see, given that installed capacity is at about 13,000? I wonder what you've got to, how you have to address that question.
First, let me deal with the amount of power that is being distributed. And I think the most important point you have used is the average. Because oftentimes, when people see the actual number, the word average really does not resonate with them. And I've told those who care to interrogate this, to say that power consumption levels are not the same from morning till evening. Some places are peak power demand at peak times of the day and off-peak. And the average you see is the mean between peak and off-peak. So as we are here now, this place will be at its peak demand for energy. Once we go, they shut down all of this. So it means clearly that at peak demand, we are exceeding what is the average. And when we go to off-peak, we go back to what the real demand is. Yes, it is true that we appear not to have significantly pushed forward from those numbers. The reason is out in the open. The power demand at the distribution side is still the big constraining factor. In 2014-2015, I think what you will hear more at that time was, oh, we don't have enough power to sell, to distribute. That problem has changed. We now have power we can't distribute. Today, operationally, we have 7,000 megawatts available to deploy. And that's why you have heard in the last few weeks, the GENCOs are saying that LCC is restraining them in how much they can put on the grid. The reason is simple. We can't take all the power from one place in order to do justice to all those who have power. So if you have 100, I have 100, instead of taking from only you and I don't get paid, you say do 50, you do 50. So if the distribution investments are made, the last mile investment for transformers, breakers, lines and all of that, if 7,000 is demanded, we can put 7,000 on today. I can say that confidently. The other constraining factor is maintenance. We just got report of the conclusion of maintenance of some plants on the southeast, on the eastern flank of the Niger Delta, gas pipelines and all of that. So if we don't have enough and we have to maintain, sometimes we deal with this issue. So the people we want to be like have enormous redundancy that when they are maintaining, nobody really knows. And that's where we are going. And that's why I said many more power plants are coming on stream. Afam is almost finished. Gurara is almost finished. Kashibila is almost finished. Dadikowa is almost finished. Kaduna is almost finished. We just finished Azura. So there's a lot more nearing completion. And so I have no fears at all about incremental generation capacity. The big challenge we're dealing with now is how to get money into the distribution side to drive the distribution.
And I'll get to the distribution side, but we did a bit of a poll online, when we said to people go with Lashton, the Honorable Minister, so tell us what questions you want to ask him. And the overriding concern we got was on metering. Yeah? So Nigerians are interested in getting the meters, they're willing to pay for it, but the distribution companies are not able to deliver the meters. So, knowing that we've got a room mixed with power sector people and ordinary Nigerians, can you explain in very layman terms why Nigerians are not able to get meters, prepaid meters in their homes?
Well, I'm happy that your poll numbers also coincide with the feelers we get. So it seems that we are responding to the same stimulus, so we are seeing the same problem. And that was what led us to the enunciation of the meter asset provider policy, which led to the meter asset provider regulations. As at today, there are 108 applicants, businesses and entrepreneurs who have now applied to the regulator NEC, for whom a no objection has been given to enter into the business of supplying and installing meters. The reason we thought out that solution was first because the discos were not funding the supply and installation of meters, one. And if the problems that the discos had were anything to go by, and they had to choose between buying a breaker and building a line and installing a meter, it seems to me that getting the energy to the consumer will be the investment they will make if their resources were limited. That does not mean that they are not under contract to provide those meters. And that's why I said, well, your license does not give you exclusivity. We will license new people to do this business. And the thinking was inspired, if you care to know, by what we saw initially in the telecoms industry. People don't like the comparison sometimes, but there are sensible examples to draw from them. With SIM cards and phones. If you remember the Econet, I got it with Goodie Pack. But selling phones is not the core business of telcos. It's providing connectivity and bandwidth. Installing meters is not the core business of disco. It's providing energy. And when they saw that they couldn't cope with selling phones, they left the phone market and faced their core business. And this is the example we intend to see. Let people who want to supply and install meters face this as a core business and open up the space. The CAPME, which was initially in place before I became minister, caught us in the middle. Yes, consumers wanted to pay. The understanding was that if you paid advance for the CAPME, you will get it, I think, within 45 or 60 days. Yeah. But it turned out that some people paid and never even got it at all, talk less of getting it within period. So it was like some games were going on, and it was a government policy. So it was as if government was picking the citizens' pocket. And so I said, if this is the government policy, we don't want to be part of it anymore. But citizens are still free on their own to go and tell their discos, I will advance you money for meters. That's possible. Now, to say again that I know that these discos have acquired meters, maybe not enough, but they are giving out meters, and people who are fair-minded will acknowledge that some have just gotten meters. It's not yet enough, and it's a work in progress. Importantly, to tell people, metering is also a logistic challenge. Today, the in-house capacity nationwide to produce meters is just about 400,000 if we want to manufacture locally. And we would like to see that manufacturing go on here, because these are story to jobs as well. The alternative is to ask my friends there to export it to us, and then we'll take the jobs to their country. And I don't think we want to do that anymore. So again, and the unmetered capacity is about 3 million. But more importantly, to meter a house properly, you have to actually go in there, assess the use, categorize and classify the customer, so that the right meter is given to him, to ensure he's not overpaying or underpaying. So these are logistic issues, but people who are out there will acknowledge that in some places, the metering experience is getting better. And I know that those who have meters tell me now that their bills have come down from about 100,000 to 40 or 50,000. The reason why meters are also in high demand, if I may say so, is that the energy is there now. If you don't have energy, why are you looking for meters? So let us acknowledge that we have made some progress, but the problems won't stop. the problems ended, there will be no need for government. Really and truly. I wish there was a life without problems. There is no such life. And that's why governments remain relevant. That's why I have a job.
Okay, so the second question that came up in the polls was, it's becoming obvious, even to Nigerians who are not in the sector, that the distribution companies might not have the deep pockets required to invest in the distribution network. The question then is, how is government looking at that problem? Some suggested that, take it back from them, which I'm not sure is a very smart thing to say. But how is government looking at opening up the space and getting more equity into these distribution companies? Is it by putting its own shares, 40% in the market? Is it by investing money and taking some of that as equity off the private sector folks and taking it to market and getting its money back? How are you thinking about this to ensure that what goes into the discos is not some subsidy, but some real equity that drives the market?
Now, here I have to be very careful. And I'm going to say first, as minister, my roles are now defined by law. The ministry I run used to be the owner of the assets that were privatized and sold to the discos and the general. So I'm no longer a contracting party. So the contracting party with the discos is BP.
I forgot that you're a lawyer.
So the contracting party is BP. So I have to be careful.
Just your own.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I think it's important for members of the public to understand this, then I will answer. Is the party who can complain in the marriage between the discos and BP is any of the spouses. No party can come now and come and say my wife is not marrying me well. So I have to be careful so that I don't go and break their family union. The other parties with the discos is EBET, because they have vesting contracts selling power to them to go and retail. So in terms of course, we have an overarching view because government owns 40% on behalf of federal, state, and local government, and the workers. I must not forget them. So we are investing money, for example, in supporting the discos to ramp up distribution equipment. That procurement is just about completing. Then we think that the discos, I know that the discos are also talking to a lot of internal and external investors trying to raise capital. So we're waiting for them to conclude and say, come, this is what we want to do. Some of them in a fit of anger said, come and buy us out. The truth is that the Nigerian people said government should get out of power. So government is trying to get out and the discos are saying come back in again. We want to get out so that Nigerian businessmen and businesses can run these businesses the way Nigerian people wanted it to be by the Act of Parliament of 2005. But we will continue by policy, by direction to enable private sector do what it has contracted to do. I know that performance contracts are up for review, but only BP can authoritatively express his opinion about whether that marriage has born enough children and enough twins and triplets. So I don't want to get involved.
Handled perfectly like an essay. Because of the change in time, I'm going to open it up for audience participation, just to make sure that we get some audience to participate. But one last question. The power sector recovery program. We got a few questions on that, and obviously that came from mostly people who are in the sector. Where are we with it? It appears to have gradually phased out or died. I have my responses, but since we have you here, maybe you can start by explaining to folks who might not know what the PSRP is, what it is, and what it aims to achieve, and where we are with the program.
I'm so enthused that you asked that question. The power sector recovery program is our own document by which we articulated or sought to articulate all of the problems that were being reported about the privatization. When I took office, there was a view that, oh, the privatization is not working, cancel it. And I said, I don't think that we gain anything by cancelling contracts as a nation. And that there will be no life without problems. What are the problems? So we documented every problem. There were regulatory issues. NERC was not constituted. There were metering issues. There was generation issue. There was transmission issue. There were energy theft issues. There were tariff issues. All the problems that were in the sector, we sat down and documented it as a team. Everything that we heard was a problem, we put it down. That's what the power sector recovery program is all about. And then we propose solutions to each problem. And we assigned a department or ministry or agency or officer who was responsible for solving a particular problem. And as we were doing it, the World Bank wrote to us and said, look, you have to undertake reforms in this sector to make it happen. And when we presented what we were undertaking to them, they said, what we were going to recommend to you was not as extensive as what you have agreed voluntarily to undertake on your own. If you are going to do this, we will put money behind it. So the power sector recovery program has not gone idle. We are ticking the boxes. There was no chairman for NEC. There is now a chairman, so problem solved. There was MDA debts owed, I think 70-something billion. We verified 27 billion. That was a power sector recovery program paid. There was a transmission expansion program. Transmission has gained more than distribution. That's progress. It now has a 10-year expansion plan. There was not enough power to distribute at the time. We have added 3,000 megawatts to what we have. We now have a new problem. How do we sell what we have? PSRP is working. Generation is improving. There is still energy theft issues. There are tariff issues. And so on and so forth. And there is no plan or document that is cast in stone. And we say at a particular point, we will sit down, take off what we have solved, and write a second edition. And move on. Because there will always be problems.
But the loan from the World Bank?
The loan from the World Bank is just a component of one of the components. We couldn't reach conclusive negotiations because some departments felt that people seem to have identified the World Bank loan as the be-all and the end-all of the PSRP. Certainly not. And it is not off the table. So why the loan for the World Bank is still there? I just announced today there were loans for TCN, World Bank loan, expansion, from the same World Bank. There was loan from the AFDB for rural education. So World Bank alone doesn't have all of the envelopes that we need. So addressing the liquidity problem is coming from many fronts. So if one hasn't come through, it doesn't mean the PSRP has not worked. But indeed it has delivered. That's why I could report to you that we had an 18% growth contribution to the GDP. It's because the PSRP is working.
Excellent. Okay, I have more questions, but I'll open it up for audience participation. Shego Adaju.
We're also happy to hear that the World Bank $350 million has been approved by FEC. Aware also the African Development Bank is also, giving Nigeria some loan under that scheme. But the Nigerian companies under the association that we belong to, the way it is being structured, we are completely not going to take part in that business. And it's a grant, and it's Nigerian money that Nigerian government will have to pay back. And then credible companies like us, who the 30-minute grids that have been developed were done by completely Nigerian companies. So they've shown capacity. So it will be a disservice to Nigeria and the industry if local content, if we cannot benefit in that loan that Nigeria is taking and going to be paid back from the taxpayers.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The MD of Way to Nigeria Limited, the first licensed solar power generator in Nigeria. Sir, we've been listening to the arguments between the discourse and the governments, but tariff, the contradictions there have always been there, and some of us who are in this industry have invented a technology of the generation of power. We want to see how we can solve that problem. Right now we are in talking terms with the distribution companies because of that issue of tariff. We are looking at how our generation technology, which is very novel, this time that we have been patented. We want to see how we can generate into their substations at a cheaper price so that Nigerians can get it. Because if they are complaining that they are being given power at 80 naira and they are selling at 35, everybody knows that if that is true, then there is something wrong.
Sure.
So we are saying that now that we have that technology, I would want to see how it is possible after talking to them, if you can grant me opportunity, sir. We met in Jos the other time.
Sure.
And I want to see how we can also relate that with you.
Thank you very much.
Excellency. My name is Carlos Piro. I'm working for the Nigerian Energy Support Program, which is co-funded by the European Union and German government, and it is implemented by GIZ together with the Federal Ministry of Power Works and Housing. I just have a question with regards to on-grid generation. Please, what is the status of the 14 solar IPPs and also the Jigawa solar project? And also, please, what are the plans from the government when it comes to the competitive procurement of on-grid generation capacities via NBET? Thank you very much.
YPP, Young Progressive Party candidate for House of Reps, I'm a constituency. As I go around Abuja to consult with the would-be voters, one of the key issues is power. And I'll give an example. A village called Gosatoge has been out of transformer for some time, and they requested for transformer from AEDC, and that's not forthcoming. So I went to AEDC and asked them, why are you not giving these people transformer? AEDC said they have a long list of transformers to be replaced, but they don't have the finances to meet all these replacement. And they pointed one thing that made me curious and made me to want to ask you this question. They said about 3 issues that government policies is really incapacitating them for performing. One of them, they said the pricing of on-grid and off-grid power is at a disadvantage. For instance, Sura, they said is retaining power for 50, but you are not giving them the level playing ground to sell power at that price. Secondly, they said government, eligible customer, policy and regulation. Ultimately, it's taking the best paying disco customer, which cross-subsidize the other non-paying customer for them to be able to service customer, and therefore they are not even positioned to be able to perform autonomy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Listening to you, one would think there are no problems. I can assure you there are many problems, and maybe you will be able to tell us. My name is Sean. Honorable Minister, let's say we score you 60% on your performance, Honorable Minister. In what ways do you think you can improve to get more marks,
Just a simple question. Do you think electricity prices need to go up, or are they fine the way they are? And how do you think we can better protect the NDRC and the MYTO from political influence?
My name is Kingsley. Mr. Moderator, in the spirit of networking, I want to solicit the Honorable Minister to kindly note that my community is out of grid. We don't have light. I hope it's among the 300 communities that you have collated that will be considered. Then my question. Then my question is about metering. The problem we have right now, honestly, as an average Nigerian, we don't care how many megawatts we generate. What we care is the power getting down to us. In the sense that we have issues with metering. Most people who have meters complain that their meter is running fast. And we understand that these meters are supposed to be subjected to some kind of test. For me, for example, the meter installed in my house doesn't have the evidence that this meter has been subjected to necessary test.
Thank you very much.
Clearly, this is misplaced. Let me start from the gentleman who said that I didn't suggest that there were no problems. I think that repeatedly I said that I wish that there was a life without problems. But the truth is that there is no life without problems. Britain is facing its own. Right now, as we speak, I'm missing the debate whether they will change government tonight or not. So the grass is not green on the other side too. And so there are problems. But you must decide in this country whether you want to continue to see devils or angels. I like to see angels. My glass is always half full. The problems are opportunities for me to show that nothing is wrong with us. And to benchmark what I have achieved and say if I can do this, I can do more. So there are problems without a doubt, and we must deal with them. But let me remind you, all of the assets that the Ministry of Power used to control for power have been sold by the last administration before I came. So if you don't have power, it's not the government's problem. Let us be honest. The people who are operating the power sector, generation and distribution, are now privately owned companies. I am here because I am concerned. If your telephone is not working, it is not the Minister of Communication that you go to. Let us be very clear. So for those of you who want to weaponize electricity, face the businessmen who have taken it up. Let us be honest. If your bank overcharges you interest, is it the Minister of Finance you go to? So let's be clear. Yeah, this is now a private business. By Act of Parliament 2005, my role is regulatory, oversight and policy. But I have a problem. I can't see a problem and turn my back. So I'm getting involved. But I'm trying to separate what the law allows me to do. So the people you should be talking to about transformer is not me. Ministry doesn't supply transformer anymore. It's your disco. The people who should be responding to your meter issue is the people who bought the asset. Not President Buhari or me. It's not a private business. Let's not be honest, so don't forget that at all. So, with that background, I think that is very sobering and real. We sold it, and we spent the money before we came. So, with that background, let me go to some specifics. Whether prices go up or down, really don't forget that I'm also a consumer. So when I get home, my wife tells me, look, put up the air conditioning in your study because you haven't increased the electricity bill you give me in this house. So I don't want to see the prices being unreasonable, but they must be fair if we are going to enjoy the service. Now, the person who determines price is not minister, it's NERC. I have no power over tariff. But in my usual way, when they increased tariff and everybody was angry, I was the one that put my neck out to say, please bear with it. And all of you attacked me. But the people who were getting the tariff, the disco, they hid. They didn't come out. So like, I have no power over tariff. For any tariff they put, I will pay my own. But the truth is that we must ask ourselves, if I'm generating the power by myself, the cost of diesel is about 120, 130 per kilowatt hour. And if you're asking somebody to do for you what you can't do by yourself, so that's my answer. I have no power over tariff, but I have an opinion.
Okay. Maybe his question is, everyone understands that tariff needs to be cost reflective, but then politics gets in the way.
There is no politics in this town.
It is not market driven. So every time we've gotten to a point to review tariffs, then there's this discussion about it is not politically expedient. What will Nigerian consumers say?
No. Who has said so? There's nobody saying that, because on the other side of tariff is what the gentleman there was saying, that his own meter is just running according to his own mind. So the other side of tariff is that if and you said metering is the big issue, because people believe that they are not getting a fair deal from estimated bills.
Yes.
So which government is going to be comfortable with increasing the unit price of an item when the current unit price, the people say that there is no measuring can? So it's like going to the market to go and buy a module of rice and they have stuffed the inside. So people that say, we want to know how you are counting these units, give us meter. The conversation will be healthier when meters are in place and everybody can control what he uses. Even the man who has a meter now says that his meter is running Olympic race. But there are a couple of things that may be wrong. Meters are usually subject to testing before they come into the market. Nextier is the agency that does that. Yes. Maybe you want to invite them here if they haven't been here before to really come and tell you the details about. It may just be everything in your building. It may affect your consumption. There may be so many things wrong. It may not be properly installed. And so many things can be wrong with your meter. And also, how many times do you boil water? Because everybody says it's energy saving bulb. It's not energy saving bulb. It's only part of it. The real consumer of electricity and energy is how you use water. Water pumping machine, how many times do you pump a day? These bulbs come at 60 watts, 30 watts. They don't consume a lot of energy. But your pump comes in horsepower. That's why they are better than horsepower. The heavy lifting of water is scientific. That's why it comes in horsepower. So every time you put on one pumping machine, you are putting on probably all the double of all these bulbs. And so if you are automated pumping, your meter will break. Your meter will take gold medal. So part of the thing is go and buy a flask. Once you boil water once in the morning, put it in the flask. No, seriously, this is the economics of power. So this is the economics of power. If you have done all of that and you are not seeing your meter slow down, then it's probably an installation problem. But to conserve use of water is the real deal about energy saving. So just understand that. Let me quickly 14 solar power, I've repeated this thing. The business model had its problems, but long and short of it was that the impression created to the public was that government changed the rules. No, government did not. They asked for a PRG. It's like trying to buy an insurance policy. That insurance policy, PRG, is not issued by the Ministry of Power. It's a Ministry of Finance responsibility to procure the quality of guarantee they wanted. A guarantee from the World Bank. And the World Bank said, well, we've done this thing in other countries. The tariff at which we did it, I think it was in Zambia, so it was 6 cents or so. And they now said, your own is 11 cents, it's too expensive. If you want it, we offer it at, because they are paying for your loss. And they think it was overpriced. And if you want comprehensive car insurance, and the insurance company says, this is how much it costs, that's not government problem. We offered you local insurance with Naira, you said you didn't want. And the price of what you asked for is that if you want to benefit from it, you price model. Simple. There are other reasons, but I think that was the one that was in the public space. So it's not us, it's the price of what they asked for. And some of them have reviewed their prices downwards, and we are moving on with them. Again, they want to sell the power to Embet. Embet is government. And there is an inherent contradiction in that. In 2005, we said government should get out of power. Is that not what we said? Hello? Yes. So now everybody now wants to sell the power back to government again. Is it the government that needs the power of the people? So the people who are selling generators, to whom do they go and buy guarantee? And they don't even give you molecules of energy. They don't drop generator there and go and you pay and you're happy. And you start going to buy diesel. So the real businessmen must rethink this business model in a way that we can compete with those people and get the molecules of energy. Now, the duty of solar, I've heard about it, and it's something that we will resolve. I don't think there's an official, I don't think, because duty matters are not my responsibility, so I need to be careful what I say. I'm not aware that there's an official policy to raise tariff. I think it may be classification. They usually have this HS codes and all of that. So I think that you people should work together as a team, bring up a common front, identify what the problem is, and then tell us what you want us to do.
We have done that. So
I haven't seen it.
We will bring it to this.
So I haven't seen it. So that I can talk to my colleague in finance and the other departments and we can quickly solve this. Because there are policies of government giving pioneer status to those who manufacture here. So it can't be consistent, therefore, on one hand to give incentives and on the other hand to take it off. The man who wants to solve tariff problem with generation technology, you don't need to come to my office, sir. I have no business with that matter. The minister is just policy. So if there are tariff issues you want to improve, go to NEC. NEC is the one that administers tariff with the discos. My own is just when there is a problem, I go and look around where there is a problem and try and see if I can solve it. So the minister doesn't buy power, he doesn't own power, all of his power has been given to businessmen. So let them just do what they need to do. The gentleman from YPP, on one hand, yes, I've addressed the transformer issue, AEDC, but from AEDC you move to Sura. Sura is in Lagos, not under AEDC. So I think we need to be clear what we're saying. Well, in terms of policy, that you say our policies are affecting people, you will hear that complaint, but when the arguments are broken down, they go nowhere. You have the manufacturers association saying the reason why they can't manufacture is because there is no power. But I have 2,000 megawatt of power in the system that we can't distribute. So it is no longer correct that there is no power. The correct conversation is that we can't connect to the power. That's the correct conversation. And we say, okay, how do we connect manufacturing to 2,000 megawatt? Disco, give them power now. Disco cannot. So we say eligible power, buy your power directly from the Genco. Then the Disco says that he is losing a business that he didn't have before. He didn't have that business before. The man is just there. He's not serving him. So how can that be a loss? You are not giving me power. You say I shouldn't go and buy it from. Okay, when the generator people come, why don't the Discos fight them? What is a Genco? It's a big generator. Nothing more. It's just that we can't move it quickly the way we moved the Meccano ones. Why are they not fighting Meccano? Think through this thing. It's not that complex. And if your price is that good, why should the man go and buy at expensive price?
Excellent.
The eligible customer is not cheap. And we have also made directives that any disco that suffers from that policy, they should pay a transition charge to them, to compensate them. So what's the beef? You can't give me something, you say I shouldn't go anywhere to go and buy it, and the law says you don't have such monopoly. And my job is to apply the law, and I'm doing my job. I think
that's it. Let's do a quick round, another round, quickly.
Okay.
Yeah? Yes. Excellent. On this side.
Quick question. Does power get interrupted at your house? And if so, what is this administration doing, particularly since you are in office, to make sure that Nigerians do not continue to inhale the smokes of generators? To a large extent, let's have power stable in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Minister, my own is, hello?
Yeah.
My own is just advocacy towards the people who are taking, supplying the solar power to the people, particularly the people that are in the axis where there's a lot of desertification. Those people doesn't have water, doesn't have anything. So I think it's part of the appeal that this guy was trying to make, to consider those people in the front line where there's a lot of desertification. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the submission about the plans. I just wanted to, it's not a question, I just want to push the government a little bit on two things. And I'd like, the first one is about the issue about distribution investment. You have said here that the ministry or the government is no more in charge of the disco, but the difference between telecoms and maybe electricity is that if Abuja electricity disconnects me today, I do not have an alternative, which is why the regulator is very important. But the question I have for you is really that how and when will the plan for distribution enhancement stop being nebulous compared to transmission and generation? So you have Mambila, you have Zungeru, you have all the TCM projects that have been enumerated, and we cannot even see the distribution investments, the projects to be done in distribution. When will NEC be able to bring this out so that we can solve the distribution? Because without that, you know that we're stuck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go towards
you, Honorable Minister. I want to say I disagree a little with you when you said the minister does not have anything to do with this law and all that. The electricity sector, it's like a football match. You have FIFA at the top, which you represent. You have the referee, the regulator, who regulates the match, which is NAC. And you have the players, the discos, who are the operators. Now, even when players misbehave, FIFA interjects to ensure that the standards are. You set the direction, you set the policy. So, invariably, you have a role to play. We know most of the issues we are raising. It's not directly has to do with the power the ministry, but because of your role as the father, you have an oversight role to play to ensure that the direction is followed. So that is my submission with respect to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I want to commend the government. I'm from Voting White and Kingsley Odeku. For about 2 months now, we haven't bought diesel. I mean, in Voting White, we spend roughly about 10 to 15 million every month on diesel. About 2 months of bought diesel. I don't know what is leading to that. Maybe the elections. I hope you.
Thank you.
My name is Abdullah Hashim from ICRC. My amiable acting DG is here in front of you, sir. I was at the Kainji Jamba earlier this year for monitoring the actually. So I came out with a notion that says NCC is actually instructing the GEMCOs to really revamp down their powers, So, and the notion that I came out with was that the facilities, that is the transmission facilities, are really archaic, too archaic to really absorb that power for a certain period of time. I don't know how the minister will really demystify this notion.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
My name is Matthew Aiwa. Honorable Minister, sir, as I see you go from pillar to post to ensure that generation and transmission work optimally, the devil in the house is disco that will now frustrate your work by rejecting load. How do you intend to tackle load rejection? Because there's a technical way they do it now. If your feeder is out, they leave that feeder for almost 24 hours. Please, how do you intend to tackle this? Because this is actually what's going to, as you explained, the customer at home knows that his feeder has been out for 24 hours.
Sure.
And you don't know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, moderator, honorable minister, good evening. Adilu Moazu from Power China. So my question is quick and simple. Nigeria is a signatory to the Paris Climate Agreement. So with our huge deposits of coal, which we can use to make steam power plants, will this membership affect Nigeria's ability to harness this potential to develop energy with coal? And then second, which is quick, it's also about the feeder. I think the Ministry of Power, with the tool it has at NUG, should really have this discourse under their watch so that people, because the power is out there and people really are crying that there is no electricity, especially in the Northeast.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
But not as often as it did 2 years ago. I think that if you followed the policy outline, we set out our roadmap first to get incremental power. We were clear what we wanted to do, and then we will go to stable power, and then we will get to uninterrupted. That's our last mile. And uninterrupted power is not just a function of how much you have, it's also a function of how well you manage it. We don't have enough of it. So in terms of our first leg, incremental power, we have delivered what we promised. We have increased the power on all sides. So, does power go off in my house? Yes. But I measure what I'm doing. And I know that the amount I spent on diesel and generator in 2015 and now are different. And this time it is less. The man who buys the diesel knows. And the man who supplies it knows that I don't buy as much as I used to buy before. And that is the story across many parts for people on the grid. But that doesn't mean that there are no problems. So that's my answer. In response to what Rumudaka and I think Matthew said about the disco, I think they're related in terms of investing in discos and all of that. I think we need to be careful. Let me say very categorically that government as a 40% shareholder has approved a distribution expansion program of, I think, 72 billion naira that government wants to invest. Now, this wasn't done a priority. It was done by asking the discos, if you had money, where will you put it within your franchise that can evacuate some of the power that is available and that can yield the maximum collection returns. And it was with that data that we put this together and say we will inject this capital into it. But let's be careful, and be careful what we wish for. We wished many years ago, after 60 years or so of government run power, we wished and decided that private sector should take over this power. That was our decision. No sooner had we decided, 5 years after, we are now saying, no, take it back from them. Government should take it over again. Is that what we really want? So let's be consistent here. And let us understand that the decision to privatize is policy. And when policy is made, it takes time to take effect. And when it begins to take effect, its impact takes time to spread. And that is why we can share here. 5 years ago, nobody could talk about mini-grids. We're talking about it today. 5 years ago, nobody was talking about meter asset providers. We're talking about it today. 5 years ago, who dared you? Who were you to go inside the military formation to say you want to go and meter them? The president has directed that all of the military formations must be metered by force or by fire. So every month now, ministries, departments, and agencies are paying their debts as best as they can. I just signed a letter for this month because our office is the collection warehouse. This wasn't happening 5 years ago. So we're making progress. And let nobody downplay that. Can we move faster? Certainly we can. So, but if the consensus source is that government should take it over, go back to parliament and repeal the law. Because I ask you, do you want a 5-year-old to have a mustache? So I think those are the conversations. Now, about using solar power in the north and all of those parts, I think there is clear policy that we have enunciated. We unveiled our energy mix document in Kaduna in 2006, I think 2016 in June, and it contemplated that we will have more solar in the northern part of the country, and that's where projects like the Jigawa Energy City is being cited, and a couple of the 14 solar power projects we're talking about, many of them are in states like Sokoto and all of that, up north, Bauchi and all of that. So that's consistent with our plan. We also contemplate that we will use coal, but it's easy to talk about coal. I hope that many of us understand the mechanics of building coal plants. Mining the coal is only one half of the journey. Transporting the coal is the other half. Cooling the system, putting it close to water is yet another thing. So if you go to see the Oji River coal plant, you will understand that it's not as simple as people just sit in the armchair. Build coal. You first have to go underground to go and bring out the coal and transport it. So people must understand this. So it's not as easy as it sounds. But there are two coal projects that we are pursuing vigorously. One is private sector entirely, the Lafarge plant in Gombe, Ashaka Cement, and another one by the ministry that we are trying to close. He already has his mining license. He already has, I think, his generation license. There are so many. He's just trying to sign a PPA, and we can go. To the question whether Paris Club or whatever, Paris Club membership does not exclude us or preclude us from using our coal. It just imposes an obligation on all members of the world to be more responsible in how they use energy. And some countries like South Africa, like Poland, cannot fire their economy without coal. It's not just possible. They don't have gas, they don't have all of the rivers that we have. So they don't have a choice. You can Paris Club 20 times. Poland is still going to use coal because that's its biggest resource and its cheapest resource. So South Africa is trying to buy power from Congo, the Inga Dam, and is also buying power under the South African power pool, just like we are contributing to the West African power pool. So use what you have. What you may not get is that that kind of energy is now classified as perhaps not very clean energy. So you may not get multilateral funding support for you. But if you have your money in your pocket, who is to determine what you buy in the market? You buy what you like. So I think I've answered distribution and all of that. And the gentleman I disagree with your disagreement. And I think that NEC is the referee, right, of the game. I am FIFA. And it is not right, as you say, that FIFA gets involved. Whether the referee makes mistake or not, the goal stands. So, the FIFA man does not enter the field and say, go and change the result. But it's an interesting analogy that I have also contemplated in my head. That's why you didn't catch me by too much surprise. And it's important to allow the referee to continue to decide the game. Maybe we can bring in VAR. But the referee, you see, investors like to know who decides. Even footballers like to know who decides. And it's always the referee. So when the referee does that, it's finished, they just turn away and move off. They know that it's a card that is coming. So let's leave NEC. Let's strengthen NEC. Part of the PSRP World Bank loan is to help build the capacity of NEC to be the referee of it. Who dares to look NCC in the face now? Once NCC says go. And that's what you see happens all over the world. They just sanction Google, sanction Facebook, they just go and settle and beg. It's the referee that does that job. And that is what we expect to see in the industry. We call the NCC dispatch orders like a ramp down as if they have been atrocious. I think it's important to also emphasize that dispatches are made pursuant to orders, and orders are legal instruments. And their dispatch priorities. Certain plants should be dispatched ahead of certain plants simply because they are the cheapest plants. And we want to get the energy to the consumer at the cheapest cost. So sometimes in that mix, why should I go and buy the same bottle of water and give more water that is 10 naira when I can give you the same quality of water or similar at 7 naira? And in any event, once the power gets onto the grid, the molecules of energy don't carry the DNA of where they are coming from. At the end of the day, what you just want to see is that. So the dispatches are not done arbitrarily. If they are done arbitrarily, NEC will also sanction them because they are legal orders and legal instruments for dealing with that. And I think that deals with, I think, the entire picture of where we are. So,
excellent. Thank you. And I think we've I have a very mischievous street, and I've been trying to control myself, but I can't. So permit me and don't kill me. I don't know if it's fact that you said you solved the power problem in 6 months, but it's common in many instances, and I thought now that I have you here, maybe I can ask that question and you can for once, settle. And if it is indeed true, do you regret saying it?
I have the video of what I said and where I said it, and I'm going to play back in my mind. I think it was in 2014 in the run-off to the election, and I was in Lekki, and we had gone to commission the Lekki IBP, which at that time it was Amadi, that's his name, who was Nextier, Sam Amadi, who gave us a license to do an IBP, because we had to apply. I didn't know I would come here and be minister. So Sam gave us a license to do an IBP dedicated to power our water works in Lekki, our water works in Victoria Island, and our water works in I think it's Oniru or somewhere there. and the street lighting in Lekki Phase 2. So when we switched on that power plant that night and all of Lekki street lighting came on, as I was leaving, the residents accosted me and said, "Governor, you can't go. We like this, but how do we get it into our house?" I said, this is a good distribution franchise. If you want the energy in your house, I have reserve power waiting here. I can't use all what we have here. Go and tell NEC, if they give me a license, I will do the distribution and connect you in Lekki in 6 months. That's what I said. Because the power was there, and I knew that we would do the distribution next month in 6 months. Now, wait a minute. You may disagree with me. That is what I said. Wait, please.
One house.
You may disagree with me. I challenge anybody who has an alternative set of facts. I have the video. That's my media advisor. We have the video here. So we can play what I said, and you can listen to it. If you have a different version where I said it, bring it out. I challenge you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. I challenge Emeka to get the video from
It's there. You can give it to you right now.
and put it on the newsletter so we can debunk this once and for all. And on that note, please join me in thanking the Honorable Minister of Power and